while we're talking about conspiracies, I will say that I do believe 9/11 was an inside job.
Wow! I did not know that.
Claim.
Really? Wow! You think it was an inside job?
So-
All right, let's
Yes, I
hear
do.
the argument.
So you watched you joined Al Qaeda.
I'm so curious. I want to know.
Well, let me tell you,
Building
I saw many
7.
things.
Yeah, ain't no jet fuel melting no I-beams.
That's right.
Conspiracy theories, everybody. That's what we're going to talk about today. Things are going to get weird, and they're going to get weird really, really quickly. See? The bird has spoken.
Actually, that was me. I apologize.
Yeah, there is actually, I don't know if you can see it on the camera, everybody, but there is a bird behind Josh, and that bird's name is Bunny Rabbit. I kid you not.
It is.
Is it really? I didn't know
Yes,
that.
it is. Yeah, a 2-year-old named it.
I could tell.
A random 2-year-old. We don't know who that 2-year-old was.
Yeah, it's a drive-by bird naming from by a 2-year-old.
Why are they driving?
Why is that 2-year-old driving?
How can that happen? But yes,
At 5.
Welcome to the show, everybody. And yes, today we're going to talk about conspiracy theories. And let's just start by saying conspiracy theory means it is a group of people that conspired together to do something harmful or unlawful. I know that because I just looked it up.
I can tell. If you hadn't, I would have been
Because
pissed.
I'm getting tired of people getting mad at me for not getting the definition correct on these things.
Conspiracy theories.
So I'm just going to throw this one out here because this is the mother of all conspiracy theories. The JFK assassination. I actually believe that was a conspiracy. And here's the thing is I don't think that it was some crazy concoct thing of like the CIA was involved, whatnot. I mean, a conspiracy literally just means more than one person was involved in something unlawful. That's all it means. There was 2 people involved. I think Lee Harvey Oswald, which is the person who they say is the person who killed JFK, I think he could have been one of the few people that were involved in that plot. It's not a hard theory to accept. I mean, the idea that that was the lone shooter. If you watch the Zapruder film, things do not add up according to the Warren Commission, I believe is what it was. The final report was he acted alone. Nobody else was involved. Just a crazy dude. He was involved with the Soviets. He shot 3 times, and he shot him from the top corner of the building. That's it. End of story. Whereas we have a lot of evidence and a lot of testimony from a lot of people who were there saying what that report says is not what they experienced on the day.
Just remember what Kevin Costner said. Back and to the left.
Back and to the left. I mean, yeah, it's not like it's a far-fetched thing to think. And it's not like I think that the government was secretly going, yeah, we got him, and the American public bought it. I think people take it way too far. They always take it to the extreme. I just simply think that maybe they didn't have any reason to believe that there wasn't a second shooter, but it's just, I look at it and go, listen, maybe they can't prove it, so they just had to come to a conclusive point. They said, we can only say it's one guy. That's all we got. There might have been a second shooter, but we just can't prove it.
Right. And well, I think the issue was like, yeah, all they had was like maybe just one shooter, and they try to fit the evidence to fit that explanation, like the whole bullet thing, like magic bullet as they call it.
Yeah.
And it's like anybody who looks at that, it's like that is one crazy bullet going
It is.
and it enters like into the body, goes up, and then like out a different exit, like through the chest or whatever. It's like all crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely a bizarre thing. Did you guys know about that case at all?
I don't. It's not something that I've really made a concerted effort to learn about. But from what I remember in terms of the various pieces that I've picked up here and there, I wouldn't be surprised if it actually was more involved than just a couple like people who weren't attached to bigger governments or bigger groups that had I don't know, interests that weren't aligned with the president, because he was like really fighting hard to end a lot of like different segregation policies, and that alone like will make you a lot of enemies.
Right.
Yeah.
And like Dylan said, it's like it's not like the idea of having multiple shooters is not so far-fetched where it's like if the evidence came out tomorrow that they're like, oh yeah, now here's the evidence of like multiple shooters on the grassy knoll, whatever, it's like everybody in the nation would be like, oh yeah, okay. Like that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Again, I think it's the argument as to why people always say it's a conspiracy theory is because they want it to fit a certain narrative. They have a hard time believing that one crazy dude just took a gun and took down the most protected man on the planet. It's a hard thing to buy, and I understand there's a lot of grief and emotion that comes with it. But again, you just look at the evidence, and this didn't happen in our lifetime. I'm just going to look at this from an objective standpoint, and I go, this just doesn't add up the way they say it does. Maybe Lee Harvey Oswald did do it. I'm not saying he didn't, but it's hard for me to accept given the evidence that he was just this one guy and it happened the exact way they say it did.
And again, I am not an educated person on this particular subject to be able to offer any kind of unique insight. But from what I do know, of him being murdered, Lee Harvey Oswald being murdered, like that guy was also protected at that point, meaning like
He was in a crowd. He was being like
he was being
ushered through a
yeah,
crowd.
he was being transported from one location to another, and we've seen this in our lifetime. A lot of different people, like the Unabomber, just a bunch of people that are wanted people and are on trial for something, but still have to be protected and get bodyguards. Lee Harvey Oswald was one of those people, and he gets murdered. And it's I don't know the story about the person who murdered him, but like
Jack Ruby.
Jack
okay,
Ruby.
but-
He was like a nightclub owner, wasn't he?
He was affiliated with the mafia, I think.
Yeah, so but that's what I'm saying is if Lee Harvey Oswald was involved in some type of conspiracy, then what's then the biggest risk afterwards? Him talking.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one way to fix that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's it. Again, not knowing all the pieces are super in depth. I just know at that level, the fact that you have a president that's doing a lot of things that makes a lot of enemies.
Enemies.
M&Ms.
Yep. Enemies. You have logistics in terms of the actual shooting that don't necessarily add up, and then the actual killer, while he's being protected and transported and actually open for like a 2-second interval, gets killed. And you add all that up, and it's like, I don't know for sure, but yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Very suspicious.
Seems a little fishy.
Yeah. Very suspicious. That's what it comes down to. It's just it seems a little too fishy, like you said. But Joel, you were telling us a little bit before we jumped on here about the old flat earthers, which seems to be a very trending thing these days.
They killed Kennedy,
which
it turns out.
Yeah.
Which is the weirdest thing to me.
Yeah, I don't know
Like,
where it came
why is
from.
there like a weird resurgence of flat earthers?
It's a good
Like,
question. Very
So
good
that
question.
actually, that's actually a good thing. So from my perspective, and maybe you guys too, I haven't watched anything that's like dedicated to the subject, and maybe some people listening are the same. So I'm like, why is this a thing that's a thing I hear about all of a sudden? So Joel, you had actually looked or watched a documentary.
Yeah, but it doesn't mean I was listening to the documentary.
He just saw images.
I
and
just saw a
but
lot
it's
of
pretty
pretty
good.
pictures and.
But you
drew.
are a dedicated flat earther at this point.
Yeah. No, it was. I don't know exactly like when it started. There are a few people in like the flat Earth community, apparently, who really like blew up the theory. I guess like to make it as well known as it is today. I guess making YouTube videos and like quote unquote proving that the Earth is actually flat and that the government is lying to us and all this stuff. And I think a lot of that stemmed from like. They didn't really hint at this, but I kind of read about it a little further. When we landed on the moon, a lot of people didn't believe we landed on the moon, and a lot of like theories stem from that. It's like, oh, we've never been up in space. Like, why haven't we been up in space? And like all this stuff just like kind of blossomed into this crazy theory. And then in addition to that, it's like obviously these people are a little nuts, and they don't all think alike. So they all kind of have their own individual theories, but the majority of them, at least in this documentary, the majority of them think that if anybody's seen the Truman Show, that we're basically like living in the Truman Show. Like the Earth is in a dome. The sun is like artificial light created by the government.
Well, that's a
The
given.
moon is an artificial light created by the
Trump,
government.
of course.
Yeah. And, you know, there's an end to the world if you just, like, you know, sail out like Truman did, you would hit the wall. Yeah,
These people,
it's crazy.
these people give an awful lot of credit to the government.
Yeah,
Yes.
seriously.
Like I don't.
And a lot of them also happen to be, you know, anti-vaxxers and all this other stuff that...
Wait, so
weird.
is there anything in that? Is there anything in that documentary that produced a theory as to like who's behind the artificial sunlight?
Who created that?
No. Actually, they mentioned that like they themselves are trying to explain like, well, why is this even like, why would the government even want to do this in the first place, and then who created this? And nobody has an answer, of course, because obviously there is no answer.
And what is beyond that? So like,
Right.
is there like a universe out there somewhere? Or
Well,
is it,
It's Cleveland.
What the hell? No, well, if it's analogous to the Truman Show, there has to be, because that's the whole Truman Show thing. Which
the
is,
world is out. The real world is outside.
Yeah,
the,
Well,
the
it's Ed
bubble.
Harris is out there. Is what's
Ed
They're
Harris.
all lizards.
Ed Harris, yeah.
He's the one behind
He's-
everything.
Oh yeah.
hanging
By the
out-
way,
hanging
by the
on
way,
the moon.
Cody's on this podcast. Everybody.
Oh yeah.
Cody's
I
here.
just said they're all lizards.
They're all lizard people.
I think it's the
one-
first thing you've said in this.
your one
entire-
contribution.
There you go. You got it. I go back to sleep now.
Lizards.
Anyway, you were saying, Joel?
No, it's just crazy, like watching. I mean, they like film. I mean, you guys should just watch the documentary, but they record like a lot of people who obviously like are in, you know, the field of science and who know what they're talking about, and they're like, yeah, we don't understand. And actual like an astronaut who was like on the International Space Station, and you know, they're just trying to grasp the idea of like how people could, you know, think this, you know, theory. And then it films, you know, the actual flat earthers, and it's just like they're so. It's crazy how confident they are that the Earth is flat, and like they think that they are winning the debate against science to prove that it is flat.
It's just crazy to me.
Yeah.
I don't get it at all.
Yeah.
It's
I-
mind-boggling.
Well, that is everything Joel just said is the only thing are the only things I know about flat earthers, because all I know is that it's a thing that has happened, and yeah, it's super confusing.
They also like one of their biggest like reasons, or I don't know, I can't speak for them, but it seems like, you know, if you went up to a flat earther and be like, why do you believe the Earth is flat? They'd be like, have you ever like stood in a field, like I can see like it just looks flat, like there's no like curvature, and like science says there is a curvature, and like if you get high enough, like you'll see one, but like I've never seen it.
See, and that's what I'm confused about, is because the few things I've heard in terms of like rebuttals are like the classic science rebuttals. One argument for flat earthers that I've heard, again, just like here and there, is, oh, if you're in an airplane, seems like you just keep flying straight.
Right.
And then science is like, well, if you look back in like 1730, like we proved whatever. And so so I'm like, okay, so there's no like new evidence. It's just like, hey, it looks pretty flat to me. That was the same evidence.
Right.
And it seems like the only thing that like could absolutely prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt is, hey, we went to space, turned around, there it is, big old orb.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we've never been to space, is the lie. And so they just fall back on all of the same arguments, because to them we've never been to space.
What cracks me about that argument is like, I guess their argument that we're in a bubble and like everything that we're looking at is fake kind of like attempts to debunk everything in the universe, because
Right.
you know, that's a convenient way to think about it. But if you look out in space and you point your telescope at like another planet, say Mars, right? And you look at it and you're like, that's a sphere, or the moon. You're like, that's a sphere. Every other planet that we can see is a sphere. But they're
Right.
like, nope, Earth is not a sphere because we're special.
Yeah, I have no idea like where this stuff comes from, but I was fun fact, I was working on another video that's going to be coming out soon. That's about The Matrix, which we've talked about many times, the movie. It's actually the 20th anniversary this month of that movie coming out. But anyway, that movie has to deal a lot with like control, and I was reading a lot of people like discussing the movie because there's a lot of philosophy on that. A lot of that movie was based off the idea of like they're just controlling us. And to segue that into what we're talking about here, which is I can only imagine the reason that people come up with these crazy theories about why things like this happen, because I'm like, what is the benefit? Why are you, what does this add to your life? And to me, I'm like, maybe they're just thinking that no matter what, they're always being controlled. There's some sort of slave to some other higher power, something somewhere. They're constantly fighting for freedom, which is a very humanistic thing. Everybody's always trying to fight to be more free, to do whatever they want to do, to give into their inner instincts, if you will. And that's the only justification I can come up with about why this has suddenly become a thing, is that everyone's like, the government's in on it. They're all telling me what to do, telling me the world's round. I see the horizon. It's flat. I don't know round.
You met my dad?
They're controlling us all. It's kind of like the Alex Jones people. Have you seen Alex Jones? That guy's insane.
Amazing.
Insane. That guy's crazy. But I think he does it for the show too. He's just doing it for theatrics. But again, it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like we all can agree on basic things, and yet you're telling me that you're convinced the world is flat. You should not be allowed to vote. All right. Hey, remember the conspiracy theories, right?
Touch me! Don't touch me! Assault! Get away! Rile
What
me up.
conspiracy theories do you believe in,
Call
Cody?
Dylan Saul.
Better
Call Saul.
Don't
I said,
touch me,
I said
Saul.
assault.
I don't care for that show.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Cody, what conspiracy theories do you believe in?
Dang it.
Dude, I'm sorry that you're on the podcast.
Cody was
I'm
asleep
sorry
the
that
whole time.
you're on the podcast.
No. Fun fact: Cody and I, for a brief moment in time,
Agreed on something.
once. I don't know if we were ever fully on the side that we believed it was true, but the moon landing. For a time, we mentioned it a moment ago.
I remember you guys watching like some show a long time ago and came back
It was very
to.
convincing. It was very
It was
convincing.
on Fox. I don't know.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
But it
so
was
you
very-
believe? So, well, let's talk about that. So, you guys believed for a short time that we didn't actually land on the moon.
I don't know if we never like jumped the shark and fully said it was, but we definitely had some doubts. Because it was very compelling. It was very compelling evidence because there is a motive behind that one, a very compelling motive.
Yeah, Russians.
I mean, we
Ain't no
were
wind on the
desperate to
moon.
win the space
I
race.
get it.
Like, it's very compelling. That being said, I'm very, very confident we went to the moon. pretty dang sure. I had a long discussion with Cody about this. Remember, Cody?
What? Yeah.
Cody keeps forgetting where he is.
Cody's the only person in character on the podcast.
Yeah, we talked about it, and at this juncture, I'm just like, whether we did or we didn't, I don't care.
Fair enough.
What is Cody saying?
Wow.
But while we're talking about conspiracies, I will say that I do believe 9/11 was an inside job.
Wow.
Wow, I did not
That's a
know
big
that.
claim.
Really?
Wow. You
a
think it was
big
an inside
claim.
job? All right,
So-
let's
I
hear
do.
the argument.
So you watched the Michael Moore video.
No, I did not see the Michael Moore video.
You watched you joined Al Qaeda.
I'm so curious. I want to know.
Well, let me tell you,
Building
I saw many
7.
things.
Yeah, ain't no jet fuel melting no I-beams.
That's right.
No, look, I will say, Cody's defense, that Building 7 of the World Trade Center
Building 7.
had no business collapsing, and it collapsed. Like, there's no reason for that building to collapse, and it
No one can explain
came down.
that.
No one knows why it did.
I want to know, is that the main reason why you guys think? I want to hear like the reasoning as to why.
I'm not
what?
saying that it was an inside job. I'm just saying that's a weird thing.
no,
I mean, I
It's
can't
weird.
say
It's weird.
100% sure, but
Sure.
I'm like 90%. Like, I would, if I had to put money on it, I would say more yes.
Well, but okay, so here's the thing. When you say inside job,
I mean, the government knew about it. It was going to happen. They had something to do with it happening.
Got it. So the American government said,
Or they wanted it to happen.
Or say there's a difference between they helped plan it or they let it happen.
I think there was some help to some degree. I don't know.
Because I think there is a
how-
distinction between they had some involvement in making sure it happened, and they had intelligence to know that it was going to happen, and they decided to do nothing about it.
I think
There's a difference.
I think it's known that they had intelligence. As
well,
to, like,
then that's the whole thing about post 9/11 not having information be siloed, because there were some agencies or people that knew of
like a plan that was floating around. Right?
yeah, and in fact there's a famous report, I forget who it was, and I think I have a name, but I'm not going to say it because it's most likely wrong, but someone that is a recognizable name high up in government after the planes hit was reported as saying, someone high up in like military, I hope it's not those guys in, what was it, Florida, that were taking the plane.
Yeah.
I hope it's not those guys that were at the training, flight training, meaning they were on the radar. But I agree. There's a big difference between, hey, we didn't do a good enough job in like looking it up and actually following on these warning signs, and hey, let's make sure this happens. But I assume that if that's the theory, that the reason or the motivation was so we can go invade and
Right.
get all the oils,
To control oil.
all the oils, multiple oils.
Cody, do you think that the towers, not Building 7, I get Building 7's a little weird. I'll give you that one. Do you think the towers were a controlled demolition?
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
Okay, so it's
Yeah,
not just
because
towers, then.
the main support beams in the center,
Like you said,
huh?
ain't no jet fuel.
Oh, no,
Ain't no jet fuel.
No, keep going.
Yeah. So the main support beams are these like really thick. Like I don't know what kind of steel it is. I think it's just steel. Is there more than one type of steel? But apparently, there's really strong steel that's enough to hold up the whole building.
Mm-hmm.
The main lifeline of the building is severed at the bottom with I forget what it's called. It starts with a T. It's a special type of chemical that's only found in like the U.S. military.
Mm-hmm.
And like there's no way that any like terrorist in a cave halfway across the world would have access to this type of chemical. And like the only impact they had was at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was like a clean slice on the steel at the bottom, which is what caused the buildings to collapse in a pancake manner. You don't like they've like had like scientists and these like experts look at the like physics of how it impacts the buildings, and like there's no way the buildings would fall like that because the way the fire was at the top stories, like it wouldn't just pancake the entire thing. Those top stories would just burn, and like that would be it. It's not enough to knock the whole building down.
I guess my... Go ahead, Joel.
I'm just confused on that. So you said they cut the steel beams at the bottom of the whole building?
Yeah,
Right.
that's what the part...
Yeah,
But
so
it collapsed from the top.
Well, yeah, it collapsed. I don't know from.
So
the
what would it
bottom
matter
or-
if they? Why would they even try to cut the bottom?
Yeah, because if you watch it actually happen, you can tell that it's crumbling from the top. It's not like
It fell from the bottom.
it's not like the bottom was
Well,
whatever,
it's-
and then it.
There
Yeah,
were
bottom doesn't give out. It's just falls from the top.
there were many people also, and this might have been related to that, who claimed there was an explosion in the basement before the first plane hit.
Okay, but I mean, whether or not that's true, it's still collapsed from the top, right? So, are you saying
Well,
it's
and-
impossible to collapse from the top?
I mean that could happen, but like I think at the rate that it fell, like you have to have more explosions to help the speed, because they said it fell way too fast for it, for that to happen.
So somebody went into the World Trade Centers without anybody noticing that worked there, and bomb or something was planted or cut.
Yes.
Okay.
I think it was actually
Interesting.
Bush himself.
Yes.
Hi, I'm just here to drive the truck into the thing.
They're talking to the thing. See, like the thing is that the argument I keep hearing a lot of times is, jet fuel can't burn steel. Can it burn steel? No. I think a lot of engineers. Again, I'm not an engineer. Don't
What?
know. Just for the record, everybody.
We brought you on this podcast, Dylan,
Specifically because
I know, but it can certainly weaken it. That is for sure. It can definitely weaken the steel, and that amount of pressure that is holding up, and the way that the building flew, and this is the way that I've had it described to me. And maybe this also depends too on where we're getting our information from, because there's certain people that, depending on where you want it to come at, they have a certain narrative. Sometimes they're trying to push, but from what I've been told, or what people have said to me that are quote-unquote engineers, when the planes went through the building, like they went through one side, came out the other. Totally took out a couple floors, right? But that middle part is the solid part that you're talking about, that part that's like kind of like indestructible, if you will. And that's where that jet fuel was just burning and burning and burning and burning, basically weakening the pillars around it to where suddenly all this pressure after about, I think it was an hour that after the building, or the plane hit the building, it collapsed. An hour of just jet fuel burning those floors. They're just completely like vulnerable to anything happening. They pancaked, and the whole thing just goes belly up. Like, whoop, we're done. Like,
well, and if you watch it, that's certainly what it looks like.
well, yeah, and certain people say too is that they look at it and they go like, okay, that there was some things planted there. Again, like nobody knows 100% for sure. I think we can all agree on that. Like maybe it was, but I have a hard time thinking, and this is actually going back to the moon landing thing, the argument that convinced me that the whole idea that we didn't go was kind of BS was the argument that how many people would have to have been involved in covering this up? Somebody somewhere would have come forward and said, listen, I was John so-and-so that worked for this company that knew about this, this, and this.
Right.
And yeah, we totally did all that.
Like
here's the proof.
It seems like nowadays, like you can't do anything in government without somebody leaking it.
Well, here's the thing. For a long time, I think actually you could, but when it comes to the various breaches, WikiLeaks and
Right.
whatever, like it means that not only would you have had to have kept it a secret from the public, you would have had to have kept it a secret from like most of the people that were communicating within like
To orchestrate that.
yeah, or just high levels at various departments, meaning there's not a single whiff of it at any level anywhere, even after major leaks.
Mm-hmm.
Not impossible, but maybe unlikely. Dylan, where were you when 9/11 happened? We're all going to go through it real quick.
It's very boring for me. I slept through all of 9/11.
You don't even care, do you?
The whole day?
Yeah.
Well,
He woke up, found out about it, and slept like a baby.
Well, to clarify, I slept through all of the major events that occurred on that day. By the time I woke up, everything had already happened. The
Just
towers
depressed?
had already fallen, and the Pentagon had been hit. United 93 had already gone down. All of it had already happened, and the first thing anybody said about me, and by the way, I'm gonna name blast these people. Balboa Middle School, I'm very disappointed in you because I was at that school, and your guys' this is like the biggest event to happen probably in our lifetime, and you guys said, let's everyone come to school, and not only that, you're gonna come to school tomorrow too. Should have canceled school, you idiots. It's the biggest event of our lives. And you're like, keep coming.
I
Gosh
think
dang.
most schools stayed open. I mean, I went to Anacapa, or I was going to Anacapa Middle School.
And they should have closed.
I don't think anyone...
Well, what happened was we went to school, and some people stayed home because like everybody was freaking out. But
Yeah.
we didn't like learn anything. They set up a TV and we just watched
Yeah.
the news all day.
Yeah, it just became a babysitting day. And again, like I literally was so confused the whole day because I didn't actually get that. A lot of people didn't even wheel in the TV for my classes. People had kind of talked about it. They were kind of... Someone had said, like, the towers fell. And I'm like, what do you mean they fell? They just, like, fell over? Like, what are you talking about? And it wasn't until I got home after school. This is how dumb Balboa was back in the day. They didn't even... Like, no one spent the day saying, this is, like, the most historic thing that's going to happen in your lifetime. This is your JFK. You guys should probably pay attention now. This is more important than anything you're going to learn today.
Well, did it make any difference that you got there by a really short bus.
Well, Josh, now that you put it that way.
It only had one axle. It was
Yeah.
just two wheels.
I think Dylan only has one axle.
But yeah, anyway, I didn't see the...
Impressive.
Once I got home from school, I actually saw the images the first time, and it was like, wow. Then it sunk in. I was like, wow, this is a big deal. And
Okay,
that was it.
Cody, did you sleep through?
Yeah.
I was spelunking.
Spurlunking.
down into the cave on your property to finally build
Right.
your...
I needed a safe haven.
Dude, build your safe haven.
You were watching the TV saying, this is a conspiracy theory.
Yep.
Yep. I knew immediately.
Spelunking.
No, Cody and I were in a similar situation because we were
Both spelunking.
We were both spelunking. No, we were one grade apart.
We were both at Buena.
We were both at Buena.
Yeah, I remember I was
High
in
School.
history class. I was in history class of all classes to be in.
Yeah.
Not while it happened, though.
Not while it happened, but
Yeah.
that was when I found out about it.
Oh, really? So you didn't find it?
What time did the first plane hit?
It was
9
early.
a.m.
It was like
morning.
7 in the morning.
It's like
or
6,
something like that.
yeah, 7 in the
6
morning.
or
Something
Yeah.
like that.
Okay.
Which would be 5 for us, 5 our time.
Yeah.
So I remember specifically.
Wait, so Cody, you were
Sorry.
in... Well, you didn't know... You
Well, I was
heard about
sleeping
it.
when it happened.
Yeah,
but
you
I
heard
found
about it in
out
history class.
in history class. Period 1.
Period 1.
What was your
First period.
teacher's name?
God, who's that? Who's the coach for the
Wilson.
No.
Oh.
What was his name? Vaughn. Coach Vaughn.
Oh, Coach Vaughn, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And what did he? And this is to make it kind of relevant to any audience. Like, how does a history teacher? It's actually a good topic, or I don't know. Like, how does a history teacher in America introduce?
A historic moment.
Yeah, well, and not that you necessarily knew the second it happened it would be what it is, because at first it was like, what's going on? But, like, what did he say?
He's like, guys, guaranteed inside job.
And that's what did it.
Don't
he didn't,
try.
He didn't. Yeah, he didn't even speak the whole class. He just said, "Cody, inside job."
Guaranteed.
Got it, Vaughn. Got
Cody,
it.
I got to speak to you in the closet.
When
and
you have a
then,
podcast,
amongst
during your
some
life.
other things,
I've got a
he
paddle
had-
with your name on it. It's an oar.
Yeah, it turns out you were daydreaming. Or, dude, broken spine.
That's all you got?
That's all you got, Vaughn?
Light that
Okay,
thing on fire.
so he said.
I don't even remember what.
No?
It was some speech, but I don't remember a word. They passed out a piece of paper, I remember that, telling everyone that class in school would be continued as planned, but they will let us know if there are any updates.
Yeah.
So school was still going to be in session, but
annoying.
that was it.
Yeah.
But I don't remember. I think he gave some speech, but I was so confused about what he was talking about.
And about your sexuality.
About my sexuality
Well, like-
and whether I wanted more oars.
Like, am I crazy? Like, I obviously, I just wanted to get the day off of school. I mean, I'm not going to lie about my motive here, but what would it take to be like, school's closed today, guys?
Probably more local.
Well, first of all, it's something that doesn't happen across the country and doesn't imply that everything's blowing up. Meaning, if there's an explosion in New York, no, schools in Southern California do not shut down. Like,
I get that, but it's like, this is like a national day of mourning. Thousands and thousands of Americans were killed.
schools
shouldn't
only
this be like-
close if there's like an immediate threat, though. It's like,
But wasn't there at that time? Like, we didn't know what was going on.
no one's going to bomb Ventura.
I don't know.
well,
I'm on my way.
I've had some feelings.
I'm sure that I don't know, but maybe other tall buildings in like prominent cities might have been evacuated.
Yeah, everyone
LA.
took their immediate thought went to the highest. So
Right.
for us, it's Oxnard. That, every time you drive
Yeah.
by them, it was just you're going down, guys.
Huge target.
Yeah, huge financial center for the United States. So Lucas, you
I remember it was a late day.
were Luke's. I mean, sorry, you were Cody's history teacher.
I was good.
I was homeschooled. I came here.
I came to your house early in the morning. No, it was a late day, so it was a 9 o'clock day instead of 8 o'clock day. It was a Tuesday.
Yep. I remember that.
And I woke up like as it was happening. Like I woke up, it was Tower 1 had been hit already. and I watched Tower 2 get hit live.
Ugh.
And yeah, I like went to school before they collapsed, and I think I learned that they had collapsed at school. That was a weird day, though. Like,
Yeah,
everybody was kind of in a daze. Like, nobody knew
But
really what was
did
going
you
on.
even like did you even understand like what it meant for them to collapse at the time?
No. I was a sophomore in high school, I think.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was like it was like crazy to me. Like,
Yeah.
there was gravity there.
Yeah.
But it was like, I don't think I understood the
Yeah.
full brevity of the situation.
Yeah.
It was the same sort of scenario for me too, because I woke up and our mom was like, oh, like the World Trade Center has been like attacked or whatever, and she was like all worried, and I was like, what the heck is the World Trade Center?
Yeah, exactly.
No idea. I don't know where that is. Never heard
Yeah.
of it. And I just like, yeah, I didn't really think much of it. But it seemed like as the day progressed, all of like the adults at the school and teachers and stuff were all very concerned, and all the kids were like, we don't know what's really going on.
Well, as, like at school, I remember like the moment that it kind of hit me, like, oh, I realized, like, you know, how important this is. I don't know who it was. It must have been a teacher though. Compared it to Pearl Harbor, and Pearl Harbor in my mind was like, oh, that like that was like a huge thing. That was like
Yeah.
the first time that like American soil had been attacked by like a foreign, you know, and it was like, oh no, this is like the only other time, like we have just witnessed it.
Yeah.
That was pretty crazy.
Yeah, so I had just graduated, so I was not in school and doing absolutely nothing with my life, and so I was sleeping because
Nothing has changed.
I don't think I had a job.
You weren't working at Albertsons?
I don't even know if I was doing that at the time. I was like, oh, I woke up late. Oh, I gotta get to UCLA. Ha ha ha! Just joking. I never went to college.
You went to Musicians Institute.
Keep that a secret.
Don't yell at me.
So no, but my dad. So I was literally just like sleeping in living at my dad's house. 19 years old, my dad. And he came into my room, woke me up, and was like, jibber jabber, jibber jabber, jibber jabber, jibber jabber.
Baby oil on my face.
Yeah. So for those who don't know, my dad is not black, but sounds like it. And he's from the East Coast, and he has a
very
history of
Spanish.
doing this while watching the History Channel. So like he would come in to my room, hey, WW2 in color, got World War II in color. I'm like, Dad, okay, I know that they can colorize old World War II footage now, but I'm not doing that. I'm gonna do something else. And so he'd come into my room, and that morning he was like, hey man, got some stuff going on. And I was like, all right, but I'll be up in a bit. Went back to sleep, and he comes back in. And he's like, nah. You got to get out here, man. It's going down. And I could just tell by the look on his face. I was like, all right, something weird's going on. So I went out there, and it wasn't too long afterwards the second plane hit. And to watch that live was pretty different. And yeah, it was like immediately everyone could just kind of tell.
Yeah.
Something strange going on today.
Well, you know what was really, really chilling was it was the first time, because think about when this happened, like cell phones were kind of around, but not really around. So it wasn't like you had
Smartphones went around. Let's put it that way.
Well, yeah, but my point is when there's like a mass shooting or something that happens, you have footage from like every angle mostly. Mm-hmm. At this point, you're not used to that. But there were cameras on the ground because the plane hit, and before the second plane hit or before either tower fell, you had news cameras all around. Mm-hmm. And so it was like one of the first times you had a first person POV. Now we're kind of used to that. It was the first time you had a first person POV of like a disaster and people like dying and like fear in people, like you could see fear in people's eyes. And I remember the first time it really hit me was I literally just got chills thinking about it. It was in a neighboring tower, an office building, and it was a group of just random office workers looking out the window. They're almost like eye level with where the first plane hit, and someone was filming. I don't know. Again, like I don't think they had camera phones at the time, so I don't know what they're filming with, but you could see over people's shoulders at the window looking at the burning towers, and the second plane hits, and some woman in the background screams. And I can't think of any other time I've heard of a legitimate, sincere scream. Like you hear screams in movies, you hear like whatever, but you never hear someone scream out of pure, sincere terror.
Right. Like legitimately.
And it's a different thing when you hear that. And so it wasn't just intellectually, oh my God, there's a disaster happening. I think it was one of the first times that it was like viscerally. You experience almost what others are experiencing at the time. And yeah, I just remember like that, and then like on the ground, the angles of the cameras going up and seeing it hit was just, yeah. It was hard to process. You didn't really know what was happening. Yeah.
Well, I mean, remember when the first one hit? Like everybody thought it was an accident. Everybody was like, "It's like
well, and because that had happened before, there was like a prop plane or whatever that hit, and then obviously everyone's like, "This seems a bit bigger than a single engine, whatever."
Yeah,
but
everyone was weirded out by
it,
it,
and it was a clear day, and so it didn't make sense. Yeah,
right. So everyone was kind of just weirded out by it, but everyone still thought it was an accident. And like the second that second one hit, it was just like. Okay, like it just all snapped into focus. Like we all know what's going on here.
Yeah, everyone's a lot more familiar with the second plane hitting than they are the first one. Because I think there's only like one angle that they have.
There's one video
of the first one. It was just some random guy that was like touring with the firefighters, which is really bizarre to me.
Yeah. There's a really good documentary I saw. I mean, there's lots of documentaries about this, obviously, but there's one, I don't remember the name, but it came out not that long ago, and Giuliani is a big part of it, and it just profiles a number of the first responders, Giuliani, and their experience, and Giuliani talks about his experience of learning about it, going down to the building after it first got hit, and him explaining the sound of hearing bodies. Hit. And it's just, I don't know, like it. You see these things in movies all the time, and so you think you have some type of concept of like disasters and death and explosions and fear and terror, but when you hear or see these types of things that happen in real life, like it's like, no, I don't think I have any kind of concept of what that's
You're
like.
not desensitized.
Right. Yeah. It turns out I'm not desensitized.
Yeah. What the?
No, this just reminds me. So I just literally this morning on YouTube, I had never seen it before. It was not a documentary, but like a little like news piece on the Vegas shooting. Is there like a name for that? There's like names. I know it's like
Vegas shooting.
Vegas shooting. All
Mandalay
right.
Bay.
So really weird. So just say it. My ex-girlfriend and I were in my apartment in LA at the time, and I went to the restroom. She's in the living room, and I hear her like gasp and react. I don't know what it's about. Not only did the Vegas shootings just happen, one of her roommates, I don't know if you guys even know this, one of her roommates in college got shot.
Ugh.
Wow.
What?
She and what's funny is I remember, and I had known my ex-girlfriend for a long. We met in like high school for the first time, and I remember like being friends with her on Facebook and MySpace at the time, and seeing her circle of friends, and she had two really attractive friends that were twins. Brunette girls are like models. They're like super attractive. And so like I just remembered these girls, seeing them like, like partying and posting pictures and stuff. It was one of the friends, one of the twins. They got shot in the chest.
Ugh.
And she was in the living room like seeing the first things about a shooting, and then she sees like on her Instagram personal friends posting things about their friend that got shot. She ended up surviving, and there's actually footage on the news of Trump visiting her hotel room. I'm sorry, her hotel room. Yeah. All right, that can have fun, everybody.
Hospital room.
No, hospital room, and no joke. You know what the first thing he says is?
Oh man.
I can't remember, but something.
Tim Apple.
Wow, you're pretty. Yeah.
No, it was something to the effect of, like, you're so beautiful. Like, you're more beautiful than, like, some other girl you've seen. Like, no joke. No
God.
joke. No joke.
Yeah, at least he didn't hit your face.
Yeah,
Jeez.
exactly.
Class.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I think there should be like an age limit on being the president, because at a certain point you start becoming senile.
I think he's always been like that.
Yeah, I don't.
Or just
Well,
a
actually-
general IQ test.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was-
No, I can't remember her name. I would
Believe it.
tell everyone to, like, look it up, but I can't remember her name. She's a really good looking brunette girl, shot in the chest. She ended up surviving, actually.
That's good.
And what's crazy is when he visits her, he's with Melania, and they go into the hospital room, and she actually like looks like really. It's crazy considering what happened to her. But the last I heard from my ex, it was like, oh, like you're doing fine and everything, but then like all the PTSD sets in and not doing
There's
so
lasting
fine.
trauma for that. I knew people that were at that event.
Really?
They left 10 minutes before it all happened.
Jeez, man.
And it's like, geez, like stuff like that is what keeps you up at night.
Yeah.
And you go like,
Well, the
how am I
last
supposed
time
to, like, you have survivor's guilt.
My
as well.
good buddy was in Vegas. He was not at the event, but he was like right down the street.
Yeah.
And it was just like,
I went to Vegas not too long ago, and on the way out, you could see at the Mandalay Bay the window that's blacked out.
It's crazy.
Still?
And the
Yeah.
weirdest part of this whole thing is that they just released the report on that whole incident. They have no motive as to why he did that.
No.
Yeah, they couldn't
None.
find anything.
No,
the
I just
weirdest thing.
this morning I just it was I forget what it's called, but like it's a really they have like this whole like CG like rendering of like all of the events and how the timeline and how it transpired, and it has body cam footage of the SWAT team that responds like literally to the floor and like blowing out the door and all this stuff, and it shows how many guns he has. So they have all of the surveillance footage of him bringing in suitcase after suitcase after like literally like 30 pieces of luggage,
It is the strangest thing.
and it's all
Makes no sense.
full of machine guns. And it showed after he killed himself how like thousands of rounds of ammo,
It's just, again, it makes,
and he was like a wealthy guy.
yeah, it makes no sense. Everything is usually like, okay, there is some motive or some sort of reason, some sort of
or
illness
some like
something.
possible motive that something points to.
And yeah, everyone's like, yeah, normal dude. Not like a history of weird things. I mean, I think the only thing that was kind of semi-weird is I think the member of his family was like on the FBI's most wanted list at some point.
His dad.
Yeah, but it had nothing to do with him. It was just his dad was like on the FBI's most wanted list. I don't even know why, but
Well, and
like,
and
he never was.
the thing I learned this morning that was weird to me was that it wasn't like he was like some disgruntled whatever. Like he was like he had like a net worth of like a couple million at one
Yeah, he was,
point,
like,
and like
successful-
and he was like a
successful
high
dude.
roller, so he had a suite, and like he was in Vegas for like 5 or 6 days, and he was just like playing slots the whole time,
Yeah.
and then
he was in a
like,
relationship that was
yeah,
totally fine. And,
No, but the whole time in Vegas, he did like normal Vegas things
yeah.
for like
I think
5 days.
well, I think he was on some prescription drugs like antidepressants, and they think that like
Triggered something.
triggered
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, maybe he was like on some hallucinogens or something, and he was just going nuts.
Maybe.
But how do you
Yeah.
explain the days of
He had some
planning or
demons.
something?
Well, I don't know, but what's crazy is I didn't know about this happening. Or no, sorry, I learned about it from my ex, and then I just checked my own phone just to see what was going on. I went on Instagram, and so like a lot of dudes, I follow Dan Bilzerian.
Okay, I don't know who that is, but sure.
I have no idea.
Really?
The MMA fighter.
No. Wow.
You're alone.
He's the guy, like the Instagram famous guy, beard. He's always got a bunch of chicks around him.
Oh,
I think I have
Yeah,
heard of that,
he's-
but I don't follow him.
I saw
He's
an
dork.
interview with him.
All right. I guess I'm just a...
He's super ripped.
Yeah, he's super ripped, but he's like the cliche like lives every guy dream. Like, he's a rich guy, and he literally just posts pictures of like super hot.
He's friends with Vitali. Never mind. Go ahead.
Anyways, all
Personality.
right. So like, but he just posts pictures of like supermodels that hangs out at his house, literally with like that are naked and what. Anyways, he was at that concert, and he's always posting on Instagram, like, "Oh, this is me in Bermuda with my models and like whatever." It's literally, and oh, he's also a huge fan of guns. Like it's always him shooting guns. He was at that concert, and I just opened up Instagram, and it's his post, and it's him like running, and he's like, some guy just opened. He was at the concert. Some guy just opened fire. The guy next to me's head exploded. I'm going back to my hotel room to get my guns and come back.
God.
And I was like, what
That's a post.
the hell is going on right now?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, we're going to end this podcast.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody who probably won't ever see this. Nothing funny about that.
Oh
one.
well.
No, we're out of time. But very interesting. Very crazy things have happened in our lifetime.
I wanted to talk about aliens.
We can do
Dylan.
another one.
Forget it.
We'll get to aliens.
Forget it.
We never landed on the moon.
And we'll end on that.
Dude, don't tell Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah, I'll punch you in
There's
the
like,
face.
no, there's literally
Yeah.
footage of people trying to
Punch
say
you
that
in
to
the
him.
face. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Hope this was somewhat intriguing and interesting for you all out there. We've all lived through some pretty crazy things in our lives. Now that I think about it, I used to think that like nothing crazy's happened in our lifetime, but like actually
There's a lot.
A lot of stuff that's happened actually. But anyway, you guys should subscribe to our YouTube channel. Come check us out. We post new episodes every week, and you should check us out on SoundCloud and iTunes and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All the fun places that you're at, usually on the internets. So check us out there, and we will come back next week for more exciting stuff.
What's that?
I missed it. Anyway, we'll see you guys next week. Thank you. Bye.
Oh yeah, Columbine was also an inside job.
Listen, you.
Columbo.
Columbo.
Columbo.